we're back. Of course, it's the Parenting Porcupines podcast, and we're here. We're still in election utopia, right?
Utopia. That's a good word for it.
Yeah, utopia. We're in this weird election dystopia. So today's episode 14, is about mental health, and we're calling it Monsters Under My Bed, Part 1. The idea here is that we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about and talking about mom's mental health, and in Part 2, come back around to kids' mental health and how do we help our kids cope. And so this week, coping is primarily related to the election, but not always is it about the election. A lot of times our mental health is really about just being overwhelmed with the experiences that we're having. Each of us is going to go through. I'm going to start with Alex, who you are, who your kids are, where you live. And then when we get to Jessica, our third person, then we'll let her kind of lead us into the rest of this conversation about mental health and momming. Alex, you're first. Who are you? Where are you? And who are your kids?
Well, I'm Alex. I'm in the Low Country. I eat shrimp and grits as much as possible. And I have a tiny man named Perry. He is 15 months old now. And every day that goes by, he somehow gains more energy than the day before.
And Alex was a candidate. And tell us how your race went.
So I ran for State House 119 against Representative Stavronakis. And I got 30% of the vote, just about, as a Libertarian. That amount.
I'm so proud of him.
We're so proud.
That amounted to 7,200 votes, which I couldn't have dreamt of in a million years. So it was very exciting and rewarding.
It's fantastic. Congratulations. Really good job. Really well done, considering there wasn't a whole lot of campaigning to be done in this year of COVID. Melissa, where are you? Who are your kids? And you were a candidate too. So tell us about your race as well.
I was a candidate for county council in a 3-way race. I got 5%, just about 5% of the vote, which for doing some candidate Zooms and filling out some questionnaires, I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's about all I had time for this year. I have 3 kids, kindergarten, 2nd, and 5th, and my 2 girls, the little ones, go back to face-to-face school next Wednesday, and I'm so happy. I love my children.
Cheers, friend.
They're making me insane. It wouldn't be so bad if we were actually homeschooling and I had some control over their schedule, but we don't. It's dictated by the school and 4 Zoom meetings a day. So it's stressful for everybody.
We've been talking on our Slack channel for the Libertarian Party about how the world in some places seems to be getting more libertarian. And you guys know I'm homeschooling Holly. She's 12. Tomorrow morning for homeschool, we are going to be attending Creative Mornings Charlotte via Zoom. And this will be our homeschool lesson of the day as we listen to this creative professional in Charlotte talk about her journey and what creativity has meant in her life and her artistic pursuits. And it's going to be amazing. And we're going to be at Starbucks and we're going to get coffee. And this is school for my 7th grader, which is so much more liberating for her and for me than I think our distant learning might have been. For all of those well-meaning government-run school people, you keep at it, folks. Okay, Jessica, where are you? Who are your kids? And bring us into what we're going to be talking about tonight.
I am Jessica, obviously, and I'm in Greenville in the upstate of South Carolina, and I've got 2 boys. One is 12, and he's in the 6th grade, and the other is 8, and he is in the 3rd grade. And I suffer from severe anxiety, and I also battle depression. And so this is a very important topic to me because I grew up in a family that was not something we talked about. And so it took me a very, very long time to get to a point that I was comfortable talking about it with other people out loud. And I realized that it was an issue after I had my 2nd son. because I had postpartum depression. I also had it with my first son, but it was much worse with my second, to the point that I actually experienced suicidal thoughts. And that is part of what I battle regularly, almost daily. And so, that having been said, I rely on a lot of people. I rely on my husband. I've got friends that I rely on a regular basis when I need, help or somebody to lean on. And none of us should be ashamed, right? I mean, if somebody's experiencing that, that is just like, in my opinion, it's just like diabetes. It's just like heart disease. It's just like high blood pressure. It's the same as any other illness. That's what it is. And I think that having those conversations and letting people know that it's okay to have those conversations is really important. And as Casey noted, we will do a second episode where we talk about how we discuss these things with our children. But for this episode, we really wanted to talk about how we support one another. And the best example that I could think of when we first started talking about this was a couple of years ago. My father was on vacation out west, and he got really, really, really sick. Like, we thought he was going to die, and they had airlifted him to the hospital in Denver. And I got on a plane, my husband and I got on a plane, and we flew to Denver overnight, and we were there for a week. And that was when we found out he had leukemia. And so, we got home after being in Denver for a week, this emergency trip, and I had so many things to do. I had to catch up on work. I had to clean my house. I had to get groceries. I had to do all of these things. And in addition to the emotions of, dealing with what my father was going through and processing that, on top of my anxiety, I was just so overwhelmed. And a neighbor friend of mine, her name is Frances, she and I, we walk sometimes. And so she had reached out to me and asked if I wanted to go for a walk that afternoon. And I told her, I was like, look, I can't, I've got so much to do. I'm so overwhelmed. I told her what was going on. And she said, let me come get your kids. I'm going to come get them. That way you can have a few hours to do the things you need to do. And she did. And not only that, but a couple of days later, she brought dinner to my doorstep. She brought a huge pan of chicken parm with noodles and salad and breadsticks. I mean, it was enough for us for like 3 or 4 days. And that seems like such a simple thing, right? Like, you just throw together a meal and you take it to somebody. But for somebody who was so unbelievably overwhelmed by just everything that was going on, everything that I was processing, those little things made the biggest difference for me. And not only what she did to help me, allowing me that time, and giving me back that time of not having to cook dinner for a few days, but knowing that she was there for me, and knowing that I had somebody who cared enough to step in and help. And it just made a huge difference. So
I love that story. I love the idea that friends recognize what you need before you even know you need it. And then they come forward with just kindness. I mean, it's just this sort of unasked for kindness. Melissa, you mentioned time and getting time back as a gift. How did you get time as a gift?
Well, I have the best support system ever. My mom and my aunt and my grandma all live in Charleston with me. And it was my birthday a few weeks ago. My husband took my son camping, but it was for his troop. So I guess my son took my husband camping. And my mom and my grandmother took my daughters, and I had 22 hours in my house all by myself. It was glorious. It was quiet. There was no screaming. I didn't have to get up every 2 minutes to break up a fight or get someone a snack. It was wonderful. But I've always been one of those people. When my first child was born, my mother, he was like 3 months old, and my mother-in-law said, "So when can he spend the night?" I'm like, "Tomorrow. You want him? Take him. Take my children. I will give my children away." I'm like, "Just give me a break." So I have no problem asking for a break. It takes a village lady. I will watch your kid. You need a break? Give me your kid. I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It did not take me long to engage the mother and the mother-in-law to keep the baby as well. And I never had that sense of like I can't be apart from Holly. It was always like who can be trusted. And now, granted, it's all been family, like my mom, her mom,
the list is
and Charlie's
small,
mom.
but
Yeah. But I know people who have not spent the night away from their children, till the kids was in middle school. And I'm like, what? Like, oh my God, that's a whole decade. It's a really long time to not be apart from your kids.
No, everybody gets cranky if my kids don't go away for a night during a month.
Well, it's good for them to have a life of their own. And maybe we can talk about that in a future episode as well. Like, I remember when Holly first went to daycare, there were people that she knew that I didn't know. She's 6 months old and she recognizes people that I don't recognize, but it's because they're people that come in and out of the daycare. Right. Yeah. And so recognizing that, like, she has a life of her own. But oftentimes moms don't think we have a right to a life of our own because we think that we have, by becoming a mom, we are
me now.
Right. We are fully entwined with that life that is not our own. So Alex, you have the youngest of all of our kids. How recently did you break from that? Like, this is my own life, my own person, and he is my little man who is his own person. Or have you yet? Are you struggling with that?
No, that's not an issue. If anything, the issue is more the other way around, where I love my career and I was an only child of a single mom. So having to put so much of my life, I say that in quotes for you guys listening, on hold. That's the way that I've been thinking about it. And I didn't realize that until the other week. And Perry knocked over my iced coffee. And if anyone knows me, they know that iced coffee is the reason I get out of bed in the morning. I mean, Jesus and Sean and Perry are in there too, but iced coffee might be at the top of the list. He knocked my iced coffee over, and I didn't yell at him. I didn't strike him, nothing like that. But the anger that I felt in that moment, I was like, there's something off kilter here. And I ended up downloading an ebook. It's called How to Be the Parent. No, that's not what it's called. It's called, I can't remember the name of it. It's by Philippa Perry. The book you wish your parents had read. That's what it's called.
Oh, nice. I love that title.
Yes, it was wonderful. And it was really eye-opening. Like what Jessica and Melissa are talking about, even though Perry is not the center of my universe, I have a really hard time being vulnerable enough to ask for help. I'll just be honest, I'm a recovering perfectionist, and perfectionists don't need help on the outside, right? Like that's not something that we can admit to. And it's not easy for me to ask for help, but when people come alongside me and do it anyway, it feels so incredible. But sometimes I do get to a point where I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I alone? Like nobody's an island. So I mean, listening to you guys, it's inspiring, really, even though, it's hard. It's hard to like come face to face with something like that and realize I need to be way better about this. Like if somebody asks me for help, I'm all over it. And if I can think of something to do for somebody, then I really try to do it. But when it comes to me asking or me accepting, it is very difficult. But I will tell you, one of the sweetest things that ever happened, I'll never forget it. A friend of mine named Annalise, when Perry first got here, she brought over 7 freezer meals. And each of them was a different, obviously, individual meal. And each of them had a rhyme attached with it. And I can't remember any of them now, but I saved it with like Perry's first birthday cards and stuff, or his baby shower cards. But it was it was 7 days of meals, and the little rhyme that went with them, they went along with having a baby. And just the fact that someone put that much, I mean, y'all, 7 meals is no joke. Coming up with
It's
that.
a lot of work.
Oh my gosh. And then making rhymes on top of it. I want to be that type of friend and that type of person. And I don't think that I am, because I have a hard time coming up with ideas like that. But I really, really want to be that type. And I want to be more accepting of things like that too. So you guys have really challenged me, and I appreciate it. So I'm going to work on this, because when I'm feeling bad, the thing I do is journal and go for a walk and stuff. But really, what if I involve the people in my life? Like, wouldn't that be so much sweeter sometimes? So that's what I'm thinking about.
So I think it's interesting that you say that too, like the ambition to be that way, because I'm that way too. Like I'm not good at that. It doesn't come naturally to me. Even when my friends are like, I'm having a baby, I'm like, good for you. I'm not the person that's like, when can I throw you a shower? Won't this be amazing? Like that's just not my jam, right? That doesn't tend to be my immediate response, is like, how can I, jump in on this and be part of this? I tend to be a little bit more hands off with my friends. But I did in the last year, 2 of my good friends from high school both lost parents. One lost her mom unexpectedly, very suddenly, and the other lost his dad. He had been sick. He had cancer, but he still died sooner than they expected him to. And I just send these friends of mine random text messages like, "Hey, it's Father's Day. That's probably going to suck for you. Like, let me send you a text message that just says like, let's be chatting. Like,
Yeah.
and so over the course of the last year and a half and more, it's just me thinking about what would it be like for me? How would I feel if I had lost my mom or my dad? And every now and then saying, hey, I know that watching this game or watching this movie or being part of this thing that your mom really loved, you might be missing her just a little bit extra right now. Let me just send you this little text message that says, I'm just thinking about you. And I know your mom would have thought of this or that. Right. And that's like, just for these 2 individuals, this is not like me starting a nonprofit in their name and raising millions of dollars and having celebrities sing on a stage somewhere. But I will say that when something important happened recently, and the person who had lost his daddy reached out to me and he was like, hey, I just want you to know that I did this thing. It was a project that his dad had started before he died, and Kevin finished the project. And he said, I just wanted to show you the pictures of this thing that I did. It was my dad's work and I finished it. And it's taken me a long time, but you've been with me this whole year. And I just wanted to show you that I'd finished it. And I like burst into tears. Like, I didn't even know this was a thing he was working on all this time. But because I had been sending him these little updates and these little like outreach moments, right? So that I kind of want to like come back to Jessica on this, right? Because when we think about the people that come, they go out of their way, they seem to come out of nowhere, but they seem to be thinking of you for a particular reason. And how does that feel? How does that boost you? Or does it boost you? Does it? Because I think a lot of us don't reach out for thinking that maybe we're making it harder or we're making it worse. But what would you say to that? Do you think is it the right thing to do? Is it, I don't know, is it the wrong thing?
I definitely think it's the right thing. I mean, and I say this because several weeks ago, y'all know, we were talking about filming an episode and I was like, guys, I can't. My anxiety is like on 10. And the next night, Casey was calling me like, hey, I'm just checking on you. I just want to make sure you're okay. And so like, I want to make the point that taking care of each other, when we talk about how to take care of each other, it doesn't have to be cooking 7 freezer meals.
Right.
It doesn't have to be.
I mean, what's up, overachiever friend?
But it doesn't have to be coming and taking my kids for a few hours. It can be as simple as a phone call. It can be as simple as somebody calling and saying, hey, I know that you're really overwhelmed and stressed out. I just wanted to check on you. It can be something as simple as saying on Father's Day, hey, I know this day is going to be tough for you, and I just wanted to let you know that you're on my mind. Just checking in. And I mean, I think if, it goes back to the conversation that we had about how to apologize. If it comes from a place of love and it's genuine, I don't think it's ever the wrong thing to do. Because it's never the bad thing to let somebody know that they're cared about.
That's how I felt about it. I mean, and let's be honest, like one of these people I'm reaching out to is my best friend from high school. When I had not seen her in several years, when she told me that her mom died, when she called me and told me her mom died, I did not blink. I got on a plane and went to Arizona. Like there's nothing that could have kept me from being there. And I think even maybe even her dad was a little like, what are you doing here? But like, it never even occurred to me to not be there. And her daughter, Aubrey, who I've been good friends with too, right? So like immediately I come down, Aubrey comes flying down the stairs. Like, of course, Casey's going to be here. Like there was and it's just because over all these years, there've been these little check-ins. It's not a big thing. It's not coming for Thanksgiving. It's not seeing you at every holiday. It's just these little check-ins, these little pieces where it's like, we're still together and I'm still keeping track of you. And it's different than passively watching somebody's life on social media and liking and commenting, as much as it's like, I'm reaching out directly to you as a person and asking you what I can do to help, if anything.
It's beautiful.
I don't know if it's beautiful. I think it might be wine infused.
That's what it takes sometimes.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about that because we're talking about mental health. So there's coping mechanisms that we build in as adults, right? That say, okay, I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go for a swim. I'm going to get back into I'm going to focus on this other thing. I'm going to focus on work, or I'm going to focus on whatever, right? I'm at this point, I would say, afraid to lose my dad. I'm sad of the possibility of that, right? And so helping Kevin through his loss of his dad is my like redirect, right? Like I'm willing to be like a little bit advanced from a psychology perspective and recognize that. At the same time, like I wonder, these coping mechanisms don't exist for everybody, and some of them are damaging. So let's go, since we just finished Jessica, let's go to Melissa, like, and then let's go sort of around this. What are your coping mechanisms? What are you using to get through this COVID election craziness?
Wellbutrin. Sorry.
Is it? That's a legitimate response. Pharmaceuticals are a legitimate response. Legal and otherwise are a legitimate response.
No. I do have to say, during the whole, I have spent, and it's not that let me preface this with, I love my children. I love spending time with my children. I'm going to kill my effing children. I've spent 8 months every day. There's nowhere to go. There's no friends. We can't go do anything. So it's different than just hanging out with my kids because they want to go my house is boring. But I yell a lot. I lose my shit over the weirdest stuff. So during this entire lockdown, we've been talking about how to react to situations and how to take a beat and not just start screaming, Mom. And so we're learning together how to cope, because I quit smoking the week before the lockdown.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's fun.
And look, if you had gone back, nobody would have judged you. Like we'd have all been like, girl, I don't blame you.
But
I almost started back, like honest, like let's be honest. I almost picked him right back up again.
I don't want my children to think that yelling at someone is the correct way to respond to stress. So I yell and then I go, okay, let me explain how Mommy could have handled that better.
Teaching moment. It's a teaching moment.
A lot of teaching moments, yeah. But we're learning. We're all doing much better. And I know because my 7-year-old is a mini-me and she yells all the time. And I'm like, why do you yell so much? I'm like, it might be because she gets yelled at a lot. So I need to stop doing that. They're little mirrors and I don't like it.
It's so fantastic. So Alex, what kind of coping So let me say this first. Like the Today Show this morning, they had a rabbi on talking about healing our nation, and they also had multiple people on there talking about stress relief activities. And like one of the guys was like, you should write everything you're worried about down on one side of a page, and then on the other side of the page, you write just one thing you can do to fix this, and then you fold the page in half and you close the book and you go to bed. And I was like, that sounds awful. Like, that sounds like the worst. I was like, how much do people pay you to coach them through? Anyway, so what are you doing, Alex? What's your go-to coping mechanism?
Okay, I'm going to start with my Sunday school answer, which is not false. It's what I do when I'm feeling like I'm my best self one day. I will journal. I'll go for a run. I go on what I call adventures with Perry, and that's just us going to Target or Hobby Lobby. And then my non-Sunday school answer is I pour myself a big old glass of wine at the end of the night. Because if now's not a time to drink, when it is. You only live once. I want to taste all the wine when I'm stressed out.
I fully appreciate that answer. Before we go to Jessica, I'm going to put up our parentingporcupines.com, which has all of our show notes on it. You can get all the past episodes on it as well. And I just don't want to forget to add it to this particular episode before we wrap up here. But I think Jessica and I did a little bit of boozing in Florida together. We talked in the last episode about the ads that we were watching, or 2 episodes ago, about the ads that we were watching and how they made us crazy. Just now tonight, we're on Thursday after the election, and we've just been treated to yet another press conference from the White House that I would say drove me directly to the refrigerator to uncork yet another bottle of Chardonnay as I'm raging on the inside. So Jessica, what are you using to cope at this point from a mental health perspective? You can give us the Sunday school and non-Sunday school answers too, apparently.
Well, I actually did go on medication, which was a very, very hard thing for me. Previously, I would manage with diet and exercise, because I found that when I ate really well, and I exercised regularly, that I felt a lot better. And it did help. It helped a lot. And then also like mindfulness exercises and things like that. But my problem is because I'm also a workaholic, which I think might be a coping mechanism too, because when my brain is busy, I don't feel as, like I don't think about all the things that stress me out, except for work, which also incidentally stresses me out. But I've found that, when I'm like immersed in work, because we're crazy busy right now, real estate is, that I don't do those things because I get so focused. And so I'm not fixing myself healthy meals. I'm not taking the time to go for a walk or go for a run. And truthfully, this year is unlike any other. So, I mean, for somebody who struggles with these illnesses, this is not normal even for us, right? Like this is so much more than our normal stress, than our normal anxiety. Like this is crazy. And, yeah, so I finally did it. I called my doctor and I said, look, this isn't working. We got to do something. And so that's how I'm coping. And it's made a huge difference, and kind of wish I'd done it sooner. But
I think there's an opportunity to give ourselves grace, right? When you talk about this idea that this is just not normal, right? So
Yeah.
we've been, I constantly go through this cycle of like January to August or so where I'm working on losing weight and I'm getting back in shape and I'm on Weight Watchers and all this kind of thing, right? Just trying to be healthy and all these other sort of body positive things that are really just about me being like, let's not be so fat. But so this year, though, COVID, I was like, all right, there's going to be more drinking and let's just try to make that low calorie beverages if we can. And then in addition to that, saying, well, I know I don't wake up very well when I've had wine the night before and I want to get up and I want to go swim. So let's, cut back on that. All these sort of like know yourself, know your body, know your tolerance level, right? On Monday night, I had writers group. Writing is how I cope with pretty much everything. And Monday night, the night before the election, I just couldn't take it. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't give myself to another Zoom meeting. I didn't have any writing available. I couldn't be kind. There was so much built up from the next day was voting day that I just needed to. So say no to some stuff, right?
Yeah.
Ghost some people. I mean, you might have RSVP'd, yes, but fuck them. You don't have to go if you don't want to. Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, your mental health and where you're at in the minute that you're there is more important than somebody else paying $7 for your chicken at their wedding reception. So I think it's okay for women to say to themselves, I know I said I was going to do this, but I just can't do it. And the rest of us need to go, I get you, girl.
Yeah.
Yep.
I get it. And I'm willing to just forgive and give grace and not in any way think that you're failing me or you're doing a bad job or we need to reevaluate or whatever. I mean, it happens 3 or 4 times and you got to be like, that girl's, but 1 or 2. We're like a demerit system here at the Parenting Porcupines where
It's true.
all right. Any last thoughts here on mental health for moms before we sign off? We're at 33 minutes. We don't want to keep our friends too long.
I just want to thank Jessica real quick for being so vulnerable and honest. That is really brave, and we need more of that and more people like you. So thank you for doing that.
Agreed. Hear, hear.
Yeah, I think it's just important, and I feel like I've probably already said this. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but find your tribe, right? Like find your people and lean on them when you need to, even if it's just saying, I feel like crap today or something's getting on my nerves, like, or can you keep my kids or, hey, you want to go for a walk? Like find your people and let them in, as hard as that may be to do, because we all need each other, right? And especially now, we're so disconnected, and it's not our fault. I mean, we're divided by all the things that are going on, but we're truly disconnected from one another because of the pandemic, and that makes it even harder. So there's going to be some work, but we've got to look out for each other because at the end of the day, we're all in this season, right? We're all parents. The people who are watching this are probably parents. We're all doing the same things. We're all seeing the same struggles and experiencing those same struggles. And if we can't be there for each other, then what are we even doing? Mm-hmm. So take care of each other, be good to each other. And if you need help, ask for help because there's no reason not to.
Right. Agreed. All right. This has been Parenting Porcupines, episode 14, The Monsters Under My Bed. This is just part 1. We know the part 2 is going to come back around where we talk about how do we talk to our kids about mental health. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Alex, for being here. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. Subscribe, like, share, do whatever it is you have to do. I don't know. Send us your money at some point. At some point, we'll be asking for that. In the meantime, as Jessica said, take care of yourself and take care of each other. Bye.
Bye.